Good morning. I am Ed Cosper, and I am an active member here at the Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Marietta, Georgia. One moment, excuse me for going off script for just a moment. Can I just talk to you just for a moment? I cried myself to sleep last night, as I often do lately. You see, I feel tired, I feel stressed, I feel upset and angry and plain old fed up. I am lonely being kept quarantined because I am in that high risk group. And some of you know what I mean by that. I miss our greetings, our hugs, your smile, and seeing your face. And I've never dreamed how much I would miss just stuff. Did any of you or any of us ever think our world would get so messy? Global climate distress, constant wars, political havoc, hungry people, homeless people, racial disharmony, and now an out of control global pandemic. It's overwhelming. I question, when will this stop? Yet gathering with you each Sunday and throughout the week is comforting. Sharing in a worship service warms my heart and restores my soul. I am filled with joy each time we make a connection. You know, it helps to dry my tears. And yes, it helps to bring forth hope. I need you. You need me. We are the Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Marietta, Georgia, and we stand for peace. We stand for love, harmony, and justice. We are actively working to change this world and our local community. We are a non-creedal congregation, and we are all welcome here. A special welcome to those visiting for the first time or those returning after an absence. We hope you will be nourished in heart and mind with our worship service today. Please join after service activities today, which are listed in your order of service. Here's just a few: coffee and conversation right after the service ends. We've got worship reflections at 11:15 a.m. and both RE and ARE gatherings are available. Zoom links are listed in your order of service. And a reminder, and a reminder that next week is our in-gathering Sunday, a return to live stream services from the sanctuary. Reverend Deborah Bennett has a special service plan. Your participation, though, is needed. Remember to submit those photos or videos showing you and your family letting the water flow. Do your thing. However, we need those to be submitted today or maybe by at least noon tomorrow. Just ask for assistance if it's needed. I had to ask, so you can too. Our guest speaker today is a member of our Emerson family and my personal friend, Jeffrey Jacoby. He's a massage therapist with a deep interest in nature and animals. He is also a writer, enjoys cooking, gardening, and playing the cello, as well as, we know, singing. A member of Emerson since 2016, Jeffrey is on the worship team and sings in our choir. Please join me in welcoming Jeffrey Jacoby in leading our worship service today.
All right. Our chalice lighting is from Joseph Campbell. A ritual is the enactment of a myth, and by participating in the ritual, you are participating in the myth. And since the myth is a projection of the depth wisdom of the psyche, by participating in a ritual, participating in the myth, you are being, as it were, put in accord with that wisdom, which is the wisdom that is inherent within you anyhow. Your consciousness is being reminded of the wisdom of your own life. And for our opening words, we're talking about the flaming chalice today. A flaming chalice is lit at the beginning of every service at Emerson. Why do we do this? When did it start? Who came up with a chalice and why? What does the symbol mean, and what is that large open space for? Although many UU churches around the world light a chalice, it is not a requirement. This ritual is the signal that we have gathered together to worship for the week. The origin of the chalice and what it represents is actually the true embodiment of what we as Unitarian Universalists are all about. Please join us singing our opening hymn. It's around, so pick a number and sing along with our opening hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Do you already shop on Amazon? If so, it's easy to make your regular purchases start supporting Emerson too. Through Amazon Smile, 0.5% of the price of all your eligible purchases will be donated directly to Emerson, at no extra cost to you. It's a simple way for people, members or friends, family, or anyone, to help support our congregation and all the work that we do in our community. Share the news. Just sign in to smile.amazon.com. Then choose Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation Incorporated, the Marietta location, as your designated charity, and you're good to go. Even small donations count, and when it rains, it can pour. Any questions? Email fundraising@emersonuu.org. You shop, Amazon gives.
Thanks, Casey. That was great. Good morning. My name is Beth Klein, and I'm your religious educator at Emerson UU Congregation and also a member of Emerson's pastoral care team. We're available as listening ears to support you during challenging times. Contact our pastoral care team anytime through this email address, pastoralcare@emersonuu.org. At this time in our service, we pause to share the personal joys and sorrows of our Emerson community. We encourage you to email us with your joys and sorrows through the pastoral care email list, pastoralcare@emersonuu.org, and it will be included in an upcoming Sunday service. After I share today's joys and sorrows, I'll light a candle for each one that I share. Each Sunday, we also light our vigil candle, and I have it here. Our vigil candle represents the light of hope for peaceful resolution of conflicts on our planet, and it honors the dedicated people who serve us, especially those on the front line fighting COVID-19 and those who are in efforts to stop racial injustice. Today, I share these joys and sorrows with you. From Julie Kachi, Please send positive thoughts and prayers to her husband, David. Doctors have yet to find the cause of his fainting, and they're very concerned. And from Mary Beth Manning in Berrydale. We are deeply saddened by the loss of Carolyn Torrey White, who died in her husband Rich White's arms late Friday night. Carolyn was an Emerson member from way back. She was the maid of honor in our wedding at Emerson in 1996. We know that there are joys and sorrows left unspoken, so please feel free to say aloud the name of anyone you hold closely in your heart this morning. Now let us send our heartfelt intentions to people everywhere by offering the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. The words are printed in your order of service. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May they be free from harm or suffering. May they be well in body, heart, and mind. May they be at peace. Blessed be. And it's one of my favorite times during the service. I'd like to invite you, as the young and the young at heart, to join Miss Lauren for our story for all ages. Hey, Lauren.
Hey friends, good morning. I'm Lauren, and I have this story for all ages today. As you can see, I'm sitting in my kitchen. Well, you may not be able to tell. I'm sitting at my kitchen table, and I've got some fruit here before me, and this is supposed to be a fruit chalice. I was very excited about this Sunday when I heard we were learning about chalices and talking about them, because I didn't know very much. When we first came to Emerson, the chalice was a whole new thing to me, and I've had a really good time learning about it. Miss Beth gave me the idea of making a fruit chalice, and I really liked that, because when we first started coming to Emerson, getting up early on Sundays was pretty difficult. So we started having sundaes for breakfast on Sundays, ice cream sundaes. Now it's kind of healthy because we make fruit ice cream by blending up frozen fruit and adding granola. But you know, it's ice cream for breakfast and it makes you want to get out of bed. This is pretty fun, these little fruit chalices, because now we can have a fruit chalice with our fruit ice cream. Let me show you how to make it. So first you're going to make a very important cut. Well, no. The very first thing you're going to do is wash your hands. I know we've all been doing that a lot, but go ahead and get it done. The next thing you're going to do is ask an adult for help. If you need help with a knife, please get a grown-up. Please, you do it, right? So here we go. First, you're going to make a very important cut, taking just a side off the apple, okay? You're going to lay the apple down, and you're going to take off the top and the bottom. You kind of want to get these cuts pretty straight because it's going to determine how this sets. The next thing you're going to do is set your apple up. This is actually the most efficient way that I know to cut an apple, so let me show you that trick too. You're going to take off two sides, 1 and 2, and then either side of the cork, and that's 4 cuts. So now I have the stand for my chalice, and I can choose, where's my flat-sided piece? Oh, I don't have a flat-sided piece. I take this piece, cut this little flat bit off, and I can set it on here. Let's see if it'll sit. Will it? It does. Now, I happen to have some figs that a neighbor gave me, but if you don't have any figs, a strawberry or literally anything would work. Any fruit that looks like a flame to you, just go ahead and stick it on. I'm going to take the bottom off of this fig and set it right on there for my flame. And now I have a chalice. Now, these are just fruit, and they'll make a really nice centerpiece on Sundays. But I wanted to learn more about the chalice. One of our friends at church gave me this book. This is A Cup of Light by Pamela Baxter. And part of it, she talks about why Unitarian Universalists light a chalice. I'm going to go ahead and read that to you. Unitarian Universalists put the chalice and the flame together to make the symbol of the flaming chalice. Here are some ways to think about what the flaming chalice represents. The chalice might be our loving community, the flame change. We are each changed by being part of this loving community. The chalice might be our sharing community, the flame mystery. Together, Unitarian Universalists explore the great mysteries of life. That's kind of my favorite part of being a Unitarian Universalist, the exploring. And for some, the flaming chalice means hope. It reminds us of how much good we can do when we work together. And some people say that the flaming chalice reminds them of joy and celebration, like the candles on a birthday cake. Now, I don't have cherries to go on top of my ice cream, but I do have figs. So I'm gonna think that the flame is an ice cream topper today. And really, that makes me pretty happy, just like the chalice. I hope as we learn more about it today, you guys have some delicious snacks. I have some figs and some nut butter and some apple slices. And so I think maybe since we're doing church at home, I'm gonna have snacks during service. Don't tell. Let's go ahead and sing our song of dedication.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with each other. Thus do we promise to each other.
Hello, back to me, it's Jeffrey again. And I would like to say just before I start the meditation, thank you so very much to Ed for the wonderful welcome. And also to say that your heartfelt words really touched me a lot. And I think a lot of us are feeling that way these days. And for me, this Sunday service every week really helps me to get through it all. So I hope you know, Ed, that we're all here for you, and this congregation is here for all of you who might be feeling like Ed is right now. It's unsettling times, and we'll get through it together though. So for our meditation today, the space in the chalice leaves room for you to find whatever speaks to you and add it to your personal spirituality. The following words are from Carla Borthwick, and they feel very current to me and speak to me on many levels. Please now take a deep breath and close your eyes, or just half close them as you feel comfortable. Exhale and take one more deep breath. As you exhale, let go of tension in your shoulders. Inhale a deep breath, and as you exhale, let go of tension in your face, your hands. Inhale again, and as you exhale, relax your legs and feet. Thank you, from Carla Borthwick. To the person who uses metal straws to save fish, but consumes animals, I'd like to say thank you. To the vegan who isn't aware of our homeless problem, thank you. To the climate change activists who aren't attentive to fast fashion, thank you. To the girl who gives her old clothes to the disadvantaged, but isn't educated on sex trafficking, thank you. To the guy who picks up rubbish on his way home from a surf, but isn't well informed about male suicide rates, thank you. To the people who stand up for horse racing concerns, but are uninformed of the cruelty of the dairy industry, thank you. To the positive Instagram influencer who hasn't cultivated a plastic-free lifestyle, thank you. To the grandparents who knit for sick children but aren't up to date with current race and homophobic issues, thank you. To the student that stands up for bullying but aren't aware of the constant domestic violence epidemic, thank you. To the peace activists, feminists, stray dog adopters, teachers, volunteers, foster carers, recyclers, givers, doers, and believers, I say thank you. We are all on a different path, and we all see through different eyes. Current world issues that you're passionate about aren't always what other people are trying to change, and that's okay. It's not everyone's job to save every part of the world, but it is everyone's responsibility to thank every person who is doing their part to save the world. Don't critique, just appreciate. Don't judge, just educate. We're all trying our best. Thank you. And before I end our meditation, I'd like to say one more thank you to the heroes of Emerson, who've been going above and beyond the call of duty every week to bring us these outstanding online services. Maggie Baker, Bruce King, Reverend Deborah Bennett, Kathy Middleman, Beth Klein, Lauren Hayden, the worship team, and all of you who have helped by sending in your speaking parts and your music. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much, Shelley, for that heartfelt rendition of Morning Has Broken. Every morning when the sun comes up, it's like the world is lighting a chalice for us all to start our day. So let's look at the flaming chalice that's the centerpiece of our Sunday service. You can see that there's two circles with a chalice inside and a flame also. It's probably very familiar to you as we see these with all of our with a lot of our communications. There we go. Sorry, having a Zoom moment here. We light it at the beginning of every service after we say meaningful words. While researching the chalice, I was interested to discover an aspect of our symbol that I had never noticed before, and that is the space in the chalice. But more about that in a minute. At first glance, it may look like a very simple symbol, but there is meaning to every part of it. Some of you may know the chalice origin story, but for those who don't, I'll go ahead and share it now. It's not very long, and oddly enough, the chalice itself doesn't have a specific event like the Christians have the cross, the symbol of Christ's sacrifice, or the Jewish symbol, the Star of David, which originated from Arabic use for having talismanic mystical properties. Our chalice has a very different origin story. As Dr. Anthony Stringer mentioned last week, the chalice was conceived in order to help save persecuted Jews. In those wartime days, when danger was everywhere, lots of people were running away from their own countries. Often, people who were escaping and people who wanted to help didn't speak the same language. Reverend Joy decided it would be much better if the service committee had an official symbol or picture to help identify its members. With a picture or symbol, it wouldn't matter if people could read the language or not. Also, they realized that an emblem makes papers look more official. At that time, anyone traveling in Europe with Jewish identification papers would be arrested. The Unitarians hoped to give refuge to anyone who was being persecuted by the Nazis. Reverend Joy went to a very talented man named Hans Deutsch for help. Deutsch had escaped from the Nazis in Paris, where he was in danger because he drew cartoons showing how evil the Nazis were. Reverend Joy asked Deutsch to create a symbol to print on service committee papers to make them look important. He wanted the symbol to impress governments and police who had the power to help move people to safety. For his drawing, Deutsch borrowed an old symbol of strength and freedom from Czechoslovakia, a chalice with a flame. Reverend Joy wrote to his friends in Boston that the new symbol seemed to show the real spirit of the Unitarian religion. It showed a chalice or a cup that was used for giving a healing drink to others. And it showed a flame on top of the chalice because a flame was often used to represent a spirit of hope, helpfulness, and sacrifice. And so the flaming chalice became the official symbol of the Unitarian Service Committee. The committee supplied many Jews with fake identification, and the flaming chalice symbol was just what they needed to make them look official. Once they started using the symbol, hundreds of Jews were able to escape with the identification supplied by the Unitarians. Many years later, the flaming chalice became the symbol of Unitarian Universalist groups all over the world. By the early 1970s, enough Unitarian Universalists had heard the story of the flaming chalice symbol, and they began to light a flaming chalice as part of the worship service in their churches. Although this is not a required part of any UU service, over the years, this practice has spread over most of the United States and Canada. So that's where the chalice itself comes from. But let's look at the rest of the symbol. We see the chalice is often offset. And this isn't a mistake. It's off to the side for a reason. There's this huge space in here, but more about that in just a minute. We also see that there was two circles. I say that there's most of the time, usually there are the two circles and the chalice is offset because the chalice isn't always represented that way. There are lots of different interpretations of the chalice. Sometimes the chalice is right in the middle of the circle, just like it is in our pulpit in the sanctuary. And Reverend Deborah often wears a chalice necklace, and it has it right in the center. And sometimes it's depicted with no circles at all, just the chalice with the flame. But when it is depicted with the two circles, they are there to represent when Unitarianism merged with Universalism. One circle to represent each of the religions. And the part that I want to bring your attention to is the fact that the chalice is offset. That is to leave lots of room within the circles to represent the space that we offer to everyone of every faith. Everyone is welcome here. This aspect of the chalice is, I feel, the part that really shows the aspect of the UU community that I appreciate the most. It leaves space for anything that you feel personally fits into your view of what is worshipful. When I joined the worship team and was told I could do a sermon and choose any topic I wanted, as long as it could be considered worshipful, So the definition of worshipful is worthy of attention. To worship is to honor or revere or recognize as worthwhile. This is fantastic criteria for choosing sermon topics. As an introverted person, I am sometimes very shy, but if I have an opportunity to talk about something that is meaningful to me, then it's a different story. Since I've been coming to Emerson, I've been amazed and impressed by the wide variety of topics for sermons over the years that I have heard. Just last week, Dr. Stringer presented an incredibly moving sermon on Billie Holiday that was fascinating. I hope you had a chance to see him. So knowing that there is space in the chalice for anything that we find that we know is worshipful is very exciting. I'm going to talk more about the space, but first I think it's important to touch on a couple of the other aspects of the chalice. First of all, this is a ritual that we do, and a ritual is an act or a series of acts regularly repeated in a set, precise manner. So why do we need rituals? They can give importance to aspects of life by making you stop and realize it's time to forget everything else for a moment and focus on this one thing. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what a ritual is, but on a deeper level. As our chalice lighting from Joseph Campbell said, a ritual is an enactment of a myth. And by participating in the ritual, you are participating in the myth. And since myth is a projection of the depth and the wisdom of the psyche, by participating in a ritual, participating in the myth, you are being, as it were, put in accordance with that wisdom, which is the wisdom that is inherent within you anyhow. Your consciousness is just being reminded of the wisdom of your own life. I appreciate rituals very much. As I grew up and went to Catholic Church, I always appreciate the rituals that are part of the Mass. Taking part in these rituals really gives you an opportunity to plug into what's happening. Then as a teenager, I was a huge fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And a big part of that experience, if you've ever been, then you know, is the rituals of the props that go along with it. It makes you feel like you're a part of what's going on. When you see the chalice being lit at the start of our service, you know that you're about to hear words that will set the tone for whatever we might hear that day. It gives you a small teaser for what's to come as the rest of the service unfolds, sort of like an appetizer before the meal. I think it's great that we normally have the youth of Emerson light the chalice, since the original custom of actually lighting a chalice before the service started with children who lit one before their religious exploration after the Sunday service. Eventually, the practice also happened at the start of the service, as we do now, but it started with the youth. The next part of the symbol is the two circles. Okay, so we already kind of talked about the circles, one for Unitarianism and one for Universalism. That's pretty straightforward. And then there's the chalice. The chalice can be considered a grail or a cup or a holy grail. In literature, the search for the Holy Grail put one on a journey or a quest that was a purpose larger than themselves. And this journey would put the searchers closer to the source of its miraculous powers. It puts the searcher closer to the divine, and the search itself is a learning journey filled with surprises, challenges, pitfalls, and rewards. To pursue the Grail, one must be passionate and brave. I know that many of you are very brave, not at all afraid to stand up against injustice or inequality. I know many of you are very passionate about a lot of things. That is one of my favorite aspects of getting to know other people in our congregation. There are so many people in Emerson that are very passionate about all sorts of things, and that's very exciting. Using a chalice and what it represents in our flaming chalice icon makes it a very good description of the path we choose as you use on a fulfilling and fascinating path. The next part of it is the fire or the light at the top. As the artist who drew the original one said, a flame was used to represent a spirit of hope, helpfulness, and sacrifice. That alone makes it a worthy part of our symbol, but on a deeper level, what does a flame represent? Rumi said, "Set your life on fire. Seek those who fan your flames." Fire is an essential part of many important events. We put candles on our birthday cakes, candles at a special events dinner, candles during church services. Bonfires are lit to celebrate victories. The Olympic torch is lit to signal the start of 16 days of crazy, talented athletes doing what very few humans can do. Once a fire is lit, we know that something worthwhile is about to take place, and we are all focused on that event at that moment. We are about to have a shared experience. Then there's the space inside the chalice. How might you fill that space? It's there for all of us. You can bring anything you want and it will fit into that space. It gives us the room we need to work things out and see what exactly we want to have in those circles. You may want to bring something inside the double circles like a new idea or a concept that suddenly makes perfect sense to you. It gives you a feeling of authenticity and ineffable rightness. You suddenly feel sure that this is another piece of wisdom, another piece of what I need to know to live up to as much of my potential as I possibly can. Or maybe that space is there to help you reconsider something that you always thought was a part of your spirituality, but maybe your perspective has shifted somehow, and possibly this idea or that one may not serve you anymore, and it's time to take it out of the double circles. Having the space to decide for yourself is exciting, and for me, more interesting. When I was about 7, I got a Lite-Brite. Maybe some of you got Lite-Brites too. I loved my Lite-Brite. It came with these patterns, like paint by numbers, that you put the right pegs on the page and it would make a duck or a mountain or something like that. A picture would form as you followed these the numbers that coincided with the pegs you're supposed to put in there. But then my favorite part of that pack of sheets was the very back, where there was about, I don't know, half a dozen or so of these completely blank sheets. With those, you can make any picture you wanted to make. This is sort of like that space in the chalice. It gives you the space to work with so you can consider all sorts of things and decide whether or not they belong in your personal view of what spirituality is. You may be very excited to share with others the things you feel deserve to go inside that space. Or you can just keep it to yourself. It can be a very personal thing too, and you might feel more special to you to keep that inside and not share with others. But creating your own opinions about what makes you feel connected to the higher powers, the divinity, is a very empowering thing to do. I love to be surprised by things I read or see, and once in a while that makes my mind go to a very special place, a place where I think a little wider. An expansion takes place and my mind is stretched a little bit and will never be the same. I will know these when I see them, and I always keep space for them, and I try to expect them at almost any time. I found these pieces of wisdom in all sorts of places: books, movies, musicals, podcasts, poems, Krista Tippett, Terry Gross interviews, things people say to me, things I've heard children say, and on and on. There is no limit to the sources of these ideas that can fit into your double circles. The meditation words I use today, I found on Instagram a while back. I'm a huge fan of musicals. So some of these words contain a lot of meaning to me, and I found a lot of these types of things inside musicals. And sometimes it comes in just a few lines, an important idea that can be expressed in just very few words. Like this one, I like this one very much from South Pacific. You've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how are you going to have a dream come true? This is another one from another musical called Into the Woods by Stephen Sondheim. As Red Riding Hood ponders her ensnarement by the big bad wolf, the words she used stick with me and come to my mind when dealing with some people who seem to be one thing and may be trying to present something else. Do not put your faith in a cape and a hood. They will not protect you the way that they should. And take extra care with strangers. Even flowers have their dangers. And though scary is exciting, nice is different than good. Sometimes it's just one line. I think of this one every morning when I go out in my backyard as the sun comes up. From the musical Oklahoma. Oh, the sounds of the earth are like music. Or then there's other times if I'm wondering if I can accomplish something or not. From the Rocky Horror Picture Show, this line: don't dream it, be it. This next one is one of my favorites. It's a little bit longer. I read it many years ago and I'm inspired by it every time I read it. It's called The Desiderata by Max Ehrmann. The Latin translation of desiderata means things desired. Go placidly among the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are a vexation to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble, It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery, but let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars, and you have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. I have this hung up on the back of my door at work, and I read it regularly. It always puts me in that place of ineffable rightness. It feels authentic and true to me every time I read it. So, I just shared a few of the things that I put inside the space of the chalice. Hopefully you liked what I shared, but if you didn't, that's okay. That's the point of the space in the chalice. It's there for whatever you want to put in there. And part of that is not needing to agree with what everyone else might want to put in there. So how do you fill that chalice space? Do you have things that fit in there? As you wonder how to determine whether or not something fits in there or not, just think about a connection. Does it feel like it makes you feel connected and in touch with the magic in the world? Does it make you feel eternal? Or maybe just gives you that feeling that your brain is just expanded a little bit more since being exposed to this information? The word religion has an interesting origin. I like word origins. I think they're interesting. Maybe you can tell. Religion comes from the word ligare, meaning to link or join. So to re-ligare would be to link again, or just relink. So religion means to relink. Other definitions suggest a link between humans and divinity. But let's get back to just relinking. What are we relinking to? Why do we need to relink? Is it because the day-to-day orders of business that come along, the mundane tasks that we all have to do, going to jobs that can, and these things that lead us away from feeling connected to the awe-inspiring aspects of life? Religion in its truest form, then, needs to make us feel connected to something bigger than ourselves. Throughout the week, we start to forget, or maybe get hopeless when things get challenging. But then, on Sunday, we gather together and relink to that part of life. And being reconnected gives us the energy and the inspiration to go back to all those things that slowly pull us away from the link. We may have even seen parts of our lives suddenly that have more value than we did before that previous Sunday. You realize how precious it all is. This is often the case for me. I love discovering things I never knew before. And many Sundays here at Emerson, I've been amazed by information and ideas that I'd never known before that fill me with hope and inspiration. That room in the double circle leaves room for you to sort through anything that may come into your consciousness and decide whether it fits inside or not. There are times in life when we do something just because it's just what we've always done. Occasionally, someone might notice some part of it and point it out instead of thinking, yes, why do we do that? Maybe it would make more sense to do it another way. There have been times I've seen people become defensive and threatened by anyone questioning the validity of something that's been done a certain way for a very long time, just because that's the way it's always been done. In ancient Rome, people drank lead for health reasons. When you consider this, ideas like this, it makes you wonder, so how long did it take for them to figure out that lead is not only not a health drink, but it's also toxic? If it was considered healthy, then it would have taken a while for the opposite idea to take hold. Trepanning is another example. It is the name given to many ancient skulls that have been found with a perfectly drilled hole. No one knows why this was done, but there'll be like this hole right in the middle of the head. But these holes were clearly drilled when the person was still alive, but the purpose is completely unknown, and it was stopped at some point. David Sackett, who is also known as the father of evidence-based medicine, said, Half of what you learn in medical school will be shown to be either dead wrong or out of date within 5 years of your graduation. The trouble is that nobody can tell you which half. So the most important thing you can learn is how to learn on your own. So this is a known fact in medicine. So it seems logical to expect that religion will be this organic as well. And we'll need room to be altered as we go through life, and events occur, people come along, and we evolve. Our religion needs to evolve along with us, or it will get left behind. Whenever I see that space in the chalice, it reminds me that we as UUs always have that space to work with. We can bring in whatever we see fit and remove things that don't serve us anymore, or maybe just suddenly don't make sense. I love this story, and I think a lot of people have heard this. So a mother is teaching her daughter how to cook a pork roast. She says, you get a cutting board, slice off either end, season it, put oil on it, and put it in the oven. The daughter, who's not one to just accept things without a question or two, says, okay, Mom, that all makes sense, but why did you slice off the ends first? I didn't get that part. It seems kind of wasteful to me. The mother looks at her for a moment, considering the question, before saying, I'm not sure. My mother always did it that way. And now that you mention it, I have no idea. So she calls her mother, reviews all the steps, and says, let's go back to the part where you slice off the ends. What's that all about? And the mother says, oh, that part. Well, our butcher only sold one size of pork roast, and my pan wasn't long enough for it. So I had to cut off the ends just to get it fitted in the pan. So it's good to ask questions when something doesn't make sense to you. Sometimes there is no reason for it. In closing, I'd like to just talk about one more thing that goes inside my double circles, and that is synchronicity. And that's coincidences or separate events that take place near one another that seem to support one another or are somehow connected in some way altogether, although they don't seem like they possibly could be. I look for synchronistic events to occur to let me know if I'm on the right track. As I was preparing for this, about 2 weeks ago, I finished lunch early at work and had some time, so I took out my flash drive and I was making notes on this talk about the chalice history. I finished up a couple of minutes before my client arrived, and we discussed what areas on her body needed massage, and ankles were on the list. When I uncovered her left leg, I saw on her ankle was a tattoo, which is not at all unusual. However, this particular tattoo was remarkable. Let me give it a shot. I'll see if I can show it to you. So as you can see, her tattoo is a chalice, a flaming chalice. The tattoo was just amazing to me. I stared at it for a moment and then decided it probably wasn't a UU thing or a chalice like I was used to, but maybe some other kind of significant thing. So I asked her about it, saying, so that tattoo on your ankle, it looks like a chalice to me. What is it? Her answer was, it's a flaming chalice. I was raised Unitarian Universalist. Why? Are you familiar with UUs and the chalice? I mean, I was just stunned. I've worked on many people with tattoos, but I have never seen a flaming chalice tattoo. The synchronicity was amazing. It seems very important to me and very exciting when these synchronistic events take place. It was just so thrilling to get what feels like a sign from the universe that I was on the right path. To further that experience I had with Amelia, I mentioned the other talk I did about spirit animals that maybe some of you saw back in May. And she said she wanted to see it, so I sent her the link. She messaged me the next day to tell me how she'd gone to Ellijay with her best friend's son. While he was off by himself in the grass, a baby deer crept out from the forest and put his head on this boy's shoulder. Let me see if I can share that one. I wasn't too sure if I would have believed the story if I hadn't seen this photograph. I just thought I was just floored. Seeing this photo of what was happening was just amazing to me. If you remember if you did do that meditation, then you'll remember that I described a place just like that in that picture of a grassy area and having your animal come out and water nearby. I mean, it was just amazing to me. And by the way, for anybody that was out there that has written to me to share your experience with your spirit animal, I appreciate it very much. And I'm so glad so many of you found your spirit animal and met them. So going forward, I encourage you to be open to the ideas and concepts that may have a place in your double circles. Also, be sure to review the old ones to see if they still make sense to you, because maybe you have a pan long enough and that pork roast may fit in there with no problem at all. Or maybe you felt inspired to become a vegetarian and would prefer tofu or chickpeas and skip the pork altogether. In just a moment, we're going to go ahead with the final hymn, This Little Light of Mine. Sorry about the delay.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for an inspiring service. And like you, I want to thank those who have participated in providing services all during the last few months. Jeffrey, you lit my fire. You helped me to feel connected, and you relinked me to the possibilities of hope. You know, as our worship service comes to an end, we hope that you will be leaving feeling nurtured in the heart and in the mind by our time together. We invite you to conclude your time of worship with one final act. As you are able, please affirm your support for the sustainability of this congregation and the ongoing ministries that we share through a monetary offering. You know, when we give, we say yes to something that we value. We sincerely hope that you have found great value here today and will return again and again to worship and join as a community working for positive change in our world. Methods of giving will be displayed on your screen at this time. And thank you for all you do to make Emerson a truly beloved community.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. For my closing words today, I just would like to talk a little bit about our first principle for just a moment. I've got one more little piece that I've found from music I'd like to share. It's got to do with our first principle, which is all about the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And this saying, I think, reflects that idea very nicely. From Oklahoma. I'd like to teach you all a little saying and learn the words by heart the way you should. I don't say I'm no better than anybody else, but I'll be danged if I ain't just as good. Thank you, Ed, again for your welcome this morning and for all of your words. I appreciate it very much. And be sure to remember, everybody, that the space in the chalice is there, and to know that whatever speaks to you, that goes, and whatever you want to can go in there. But as I mentioned earlier, every part of the chalice is important. Besides the space, there's also the light of the flame, and we're all part of the light. That's what we acknowledge when we say namaste to each other. It's that light in each of us. It shines in me. It shines in you. It shines in all of us. Let your light shine. Now for our chalice extinguishing, I'd like to invite you to join me in reading our chalice extinguishing words that are written in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. Now go in peace and take peace wherever you go. Thank you for being here.